Hello. Hello. Good evening. Hello. Good afternoon. Good morning. This is on demand. So we could be being played in any time zone, Mariah.
It's kind of like time traveling almost.
I was
Like
thinking of
we
that too.
exist, yeah, like we defy the space-time continuum.
We're in all time. We're in the future,
Mhm.
the past, and the present all at once.
Mhm.
It's kind of what we try and do with our
Yeah,
plays.
for sure.
That's an appropriate introduction. Because I would like to say welcome. Welcome to the Anthropologists Zoom and Tell.
Melissa, what is a Zoom and Tell?
I am so glad that you asked me that. The Zoom and Tell is a little bit show and tell, a lot of Zoom, and really drawing back the curtain on the creative process for you, the viewer, our Patreon subscribers. Thank you. So tonight, we are here specifically to discuss our newest initiative, No Pants in Tucson, digital. I'm going to do a little like echo effect. Yes, No Pants in Tucson digital, a digital storytelling series tugging at the threads of gender, clothing, and public policy.
What's exciting is like something that we always run into when we create a show is like there's always characters, people, research that gets left behind.
It's
It doesn't
true.
make it into the script, and it's so sad. And we're just like, well, we'll take those people and we'll preserve it for all of time in a digital piece. And it can now be a part of the show in this other way.
So, you, Mariah,
mm,
were among the first to create a digital piece. And I need to pause right here to say, spoiler alert. If you have not listened or experienced this dial-in phone play, please pause, hit pause, time out, and dial 833-227-6317 to listen to the play. Okay?
it's only 6 minutes. We'll wait.
I'm so excited. I have 5 questions for you. Okay? But I do reserve the right to ask you a bonus 6th question.
Okay, that's fair. I agree.
Excellent. So, first, very simply, please tell us about Ivy Nasser, the inspiration for your dial-in phone play. Tell us about her in one sentence.
Ivy Nasser was a mom who dressed in male attire so that she could make the wages of a man to support her child.
Remind me, in which year did this take place?
Oh, this was like 1920s. So we're
Okay.
talking like Prohibition era
Okay.
times.
So 1920, like 101 years ago, gender wage gap,
Yeah.
women getting paid less than men.
Mm-hmm.
Just checking. I just,
Yeah.
time warp, time travel.
Yeah. Our time travel always seems to take us nowhere, really.
I'm usually like back to the now.
Yeah.
It's just a little whirlpool. And what was it that inspired you to make this piece? Like, what was it about Ivy's story? Because for those that don't know, when we launched this project, we reached out to the current artistic ensemble and said, do you want to make a short piece. It can be anything as long as it's under 5 minutes and it is inspired by or based on the life of someone from this list. And we had a list of women and gender expansive or non-gender conforming people that we had discovered during our research. And from that list, you chose Ivy.
So, I think what drew me to Ivy the most, first I will say that so many of the characters we encounter are just like these little blips. Like we just have these little blips of information on them. So what I was working with was really one-ish article um, about Ivy. And it was because Ivy was arrested in New York 2 times for masquerading in male attire, and she had to stand in front of the same judge both times. And I don't know, something about that, about like, her promising, I'll never do it again, and then immediately being like, of course I'm gonna go do it again, and then having to stand in front of that same judge again. I was like, oh, I gotta talk about Ivy.
No, and I remember when you first submitted your proposal, and I was so excited. I mean, that doesn't feel like the right word, but just her story when I was researching this past year just grabbed me. This woman who had a 5-year-old who lived out of state, and she had to provide for him. She wanted to. And the only way that she could do it, or the best way that she could do it, was to put on a pair of trousers and have short hair and work. She was working. She
Yeah,
was working successfully and making money. And this is what she was doing to support her family. And there were many women similar to Ivy, right, that
yeah,
were arrested for wearing male attire, and they were dressing that way in order to get work.
yeah. And it seemed like because it was sort of like, yeah, this a trail of these stories, and in each one it was like, well, I mean, I put on a pair of pants and I was making double the amount of money. Like it was just this like no brainer.
Yeah.
Like, well, that was easy. What all it took was a pair of pants. Of course I'm gonna do that.
Mm-hmm. Before you chose Ivy, you already knew the form, kind
Yeah.
of what your piece was going to be. Can
Hmm.
you tell us about that?
Yeah. I'm gonna take you on my mental journey about how this happened.
I'm gonna
Well,
insert
way,
some like exciting music at this point. Yeah.
ooh, well, way back when, I have to say, like, it was your idea. It wasn't your idea for me to do this, but way back when,
Oh.
uh, people are stuck in their homes, and you're like, we should just call people and do like little stories. And that was like your initial idea, this idea that we might pick up a phone, call someone, and tell them a story about one of these characters. And that really, I think, like really stuck in my mind. Like I put in there, I was like, oh, we're gonna do that. Like I know we're gonna do that. I don't know when we're gonna do it. So it kind of like came back around. We're like, oh, remember that idea about the monologues? Like maybe it's like a phone play. And I was like, shotgun, I want it. I'm doing it. That's mine. Like I think that's actually what I said. I was like, I'm gonna do it. And you're like, okay. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do that. And this was before we had decided we were gonna do this digital leg. And initially in my mind, I was like, simple, right? Like a 5-page script, and then like 2 actors are there, and this person's gonna call a Google number, and then they'll answer, and then we'll just like do the play like really low key. Like that was my idea. And then when it turned into when we started calling it the digital sleeve, I was like, yeah, I'm still shotgunning the phone play, but I started to be like, well, I mean, I get to do anything. It can't just be reading a play. It's got to be something else. I was like, I know, live Foley. I'm going to do it all live, and I'm going to have all these things, and I'm going to be like hitting pots and pans, and then I'm going to be like calling, and I'm going to have like, time slots. And it's going to be crazy and cool, but that wasn't going to work either. So I was like, okay, scratch that. This is the digital
What
age.
got in your way from that? Was it having 2 small children who wanted to contribute to the
That was number
Foleying?
one. I was like, I don't actually have a time when I could do live fulling without like the threat of interruptions. It was like, that's not going to work. But I could be like a DJ and I'll lean into like the digital. I'm going to make sounds on the computer.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, and I'll press the buttons. That'll be great. And then I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Well, I don't know. There was something very appealing about the going to a phone motif, if you will, of really intense listening on the audience part and
Novel idea, going back
back.
to simplicity,
Mhm.
because I'm so happy to be here with you, Melissa, and all you wonderful Patreon members watching from home, but I can't look at my face anymore. I'm so tired of looking at my face. And so
Yeah.
I was like, this is whatever this is, it's there's no face in it. And just listen.
So
Yeah.
here's the question that multiple people have asked me, and now you got to clear it up. Uh, did you, Mariah Frida, really do all of the voices and sound effects yourself?
I did.
How?
Here's something that happens in this company a lot, which is usually me saying, I can do that. And I can't really do it. And then I kind of just figure it out a little bit. And that's kind of how this worked. Like, what I did for the first day was actually just like listen to sound cues
Mm,
and just sort of like understand like that. I think what was like sort of a light bulb moment for me was like, oh, these sounds are creating ambiance. It's creating like, it's not a sound effect. It's like what's happening behind everything that gives it like depth.
yeah, I was gonna say
And I
there's
was
so
like,
much depth.
oh, yeah. And I was like, I think I can do that. And so I just started playing around. And I mean, like, I didn't use anything complicated. I used my cell phone, my computer, mainly my cell phone, a pair of shoes, a sink, dishes, a towel. Um, it was like really simple, the tools I had, and it
Mhm.
was totally enough. And then as far as the voices go, when we had our first meeting, me and the production team, we talked about like, should I hire other actors? And we talked about what does it mean to hire, a male identifying actor to come onto this project that's, really exploring a woman's experience. Like, what does it mean to do that? What does it mean to have other people? And I just thought, everybody's smart. They'll be able to understand the different characters. I'll just do it. And I think ultimately that was the right choice because it was
Mhm.
fun. Um, you can alter effects in GarageBand, so that helped. And it was also fun to just play with my voice and have fun.
Question number 5,
Okay.
which I'm actually gonna embed a second follow-up question into it. What's one thing you want people to take away from listening to this play? Uh, or what is like a piece of Ivy's story that is still sticking with you?
Yeah, um, I had to I took artistic liberties with this particular version of the story because um I don't I don't know what those conversations were
Mhm.
um
And just
when
a
she left, or
reminder
yeah.
that the news, the source was a news story or 2 news
Hmm.
stories in a local paper in New York City with a couple of sort of saucy
Quotes.
quotes
Yeah, a
from
quote she
her,
gave the
from the
reporter,
judge.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, the judge, and then a quote from I think in the courtroom.
So this is kind
Um,
of like early tabloid-esque kind of material.
yeah. But I think I was like, I don't know why I was really attracted to this idea of like, what was it like that moment when she decided that she had to go?
Mm,
And I'll never know, but I'm sure it was something. And I think as a mom too, like, what are the things you're willing to do to make sure your child or children are okay. And so I think that's what like attracted me to the story, and that like this ultimately, this like, yeah, this sensational story was really a sacrifice that this woman made for her family. And I think that that's what I want people to think about when they, you know, hear stories, when they challenge why people are the way they are, to like look one step further and say, well, this is a person trying to live their life the best way they know how. So I think that's what I want people to think about. It's more than the pants.
So much more. So, Mariah, what's next?
Yeah. I know I said this like 4 times already, but this was so much fun. I really want to do another one. You know what we should do before we sign off? Should I
What?
tell everybody how I make my baby cry sound?
Thank you, Mariah.
Welcome.
And thank you, Ivy, for going against cultural standards and forging your own path. And I'm so sorry that you were treated so poorly.
Yeah, me
And we
too.
don't know what happened to her, except we hope that she was eventually reunited with her son.
Yeah, I like to think so. And I like to think that she just put on a pair of pants and got back on the train back to Ohio.